It's time for science. Do you have your science book out? Okay, get it out. Okay. We are on page 184. I want you to turn to page 184. And this section is called Meeting Needs. Meeting needs. And if you look at the top paragraph, it says all living things have the same basic needs. What are they? Food, water, protection from consumers, and shelter. 4 things. Now, I'm a living thing, so let's think about this. Do I need these? Do I need food? Yes. Do I need water? Yes. Do I need protection from consumers? More or less. Looks a little bit different as a human, but we do need to be protected, right? I need to not die. That would be important for my basic needs. And then I need shelter. I need something to be protected from the weather, from everything going around me. So yes, I need all those things. And we can see it even more so in animals and even in plants. They need these things also, especially animals with having a need to have protection from consumers. If they're going to survive, they need to be protected from whatever is out there that could eat them. And there are all kinds of different ways that animals are given what they need. And that is what we're talking about next. It says, to meet these needs, God designed living things with a variety of adaptations. That's the word we're going to talk about mostly today. Adaptations can include any special characteristics or skills that help a living thing survive in its environment. So, anything. So, when we're talking about adaptations of animals, what are some things that come to mind? What is an animal able to do that helps him survive? What about things like camouflage? Right? They blend into their surroundings so that they're protected, so that other animals don't eat them. What about either being nocturnal or being awake during the day? That depends on their survival. What about extra layers of skin that animals that in cold climates may have extra protection on their bodies to survive the different temperatures? I have a picture here. I have a few things I'm going to be grabbing to show you. I have a picture here. Do you see that? Look at that. Isn't that cool? That's a snake in the desert. And look at how is it adapted to fit its environment. How is it adapted to fit its? It says this is a Paraguay sidewinding adder. Sidewinding is its way rapidly across the sand. And look, it says adapted. It is totally adapted to the shifting dunes of southwestern Africa's Namib Desert. In the heat of the day, it keeps cool by undulating its way below the surface of the sand, where it lies in wait for prey. So it moves about under the sand, waiting for its prey, with just its nostrils and eyes placed almost at the top of his head, okay, uncovered. So it is made in such a way, and I'm using the word made. God made this animal so that it could survive. It's made in such a way so that its eyes and nostrils just barely peek out over the sand and the rest of it is hidden. And because of the way it moves, then its lines blend in with the way that the patterns in the sand are. And that's so cool. The other picture is talking about how a road runner feeds its young, giving water to its young by an ingenious means. It allows a chick to grasp a food item but won't let go of it until enough water has trickled out of its beak, down the food and into the beak of the chick at the other end. So every time you look at an animal, you're going to see ways that it is able to survive, how God has created it. Plants too. The outsides of the plants, you're going to read about some in your book here in a minute. And then I have another example here that says, this is a Chinese, now this is just kind of a cartoon picture, but it's a Chinese giant salamander. You can look that up later on YouTube if you want. They're kind of interesting. Um, they back up when they go into a crevice or a kind of a hole somewhere, and they back up in there and they look out, face outward, to feed and to defend themselves. It says its body gets oxygen from the bubbling waters of fast-moving streams and rivers. The sides of its head and body are covered in deep wrinkles, which capture oxygen-rich water in pools so my body can absorb it. There you go. That's an adaptation. It explodes through the water with its mouth wide open, ready to snatch unsuspecting prey in one big gulp. If my prey is large, I adjust my jaw by bending it forward like a gigantic scoop. So there's another adaptation to be able to eat whatever it can. Here's I love these. Look these up later too. A giant anteater. Okay, look. And this, I don't know if you can see again, this is kind of a cartoony picture. But this is its tail. Look at that. Looks like a dust mop or something. And it says, it spent a year clinging to its mother's back. Then it has its head in a tube shape with a long, slender snout, and it has really long, sharp claws to rip open ant nest. Just as you use your tongue to lick out ice cream cones, I use mine for locating insects inside their nest. God knew how deep some of these termite and ant mounds can be, so he gave me guess how long his tongue is? 2-foot long tongue. 2 feet. How many inches is that? Remember, your ruler is 1 foot, and it's 12 inches. So 2 of your rulers is 24 inches long. A 2-ruler tongue. That's a long tongue. Once I tear into a tall termite or ant mound, my super tongue flits it in and out of the nest so fast insects can't escape. Cool. This one lives alone, though. Some adaptations for animals are that they live in groups, and that protects them. But this one lives alone in the grasslands of South America. It searches for food all day. It has a sharp sense of smell and hearing to locate where the insects are. Can you imagine being able... Remember the BFG could hear the little, what do you call them, ladybirds. That reminds me of the anteater. He can hear the ants and know where they are. At night, he digs a little hollow in the soft soil and curls up to sleep, and uses its long bushy tail to keep him warm, like a blanket. Isn't that cool? So he carries around his blanket with him. Look that up. That's pretty cool. And then one more example is a locust, a desert locust. Now, we talked about how the anteater travels alone. The locust does not. The locust travels in groups called swarms, and sometimes a very large one. We saw the locust in Exodus when we talked about the plagues, right? Large groups of these are called plagues. Desert locust has the ability to jump 10 times its body length. So think about how tall you are. 10 times that height is what a locust can, his own height is what he can jump. A waxy layer covers his entire body, preventing moisture from evaporating in the hot, dry climate. So think about the salamander. The salamander needed the moisture to kind of be sucked into his body. That's why he had those wrinkles and those folds to be able to suck that water in. But the locust doesn't need the water. It needs a waxy layer on the outside to keep that water on the outside so that it'll evaporate. He follows the wind currents, and they travel as fast as 80 miles an hour. Animals are absolutely fascinating. I told you before, one of my most favorite places to go is the zoo and look at all of those amazing animals and how God created them to be able to survive and live in the place that He put them. So I want you can pause me for a second, or you can go back later. I want you to finish reading this section. I'm not going to read the whole thing to you. I want you to read it. So you're going to read about plant adaptations first, and it's going to talk to you about some of the ways that plants are protected. Now, I don't say protect themselves okay? Because that would sound more like evolution, that somehow this plant knew that it needed to survive and it wasn't surviving well, and so it changed. That's not what we're talking about. We're talking about God giving the plant, as He created it, giving it the ability to survive by how He made it. And that makes sense to me. Okay. Then the next page I want you to continue is animal adaptations. So we see a few key words here, and I want you to pay attention. Remember, anytime we see italicized words, this one here is mimicry. So when an animal looks like a poisonous animal, but you don't know, one is poisonous, the other one isn't, but its stripes or it's the way it's patterned on the outside looks very similar to something that could be dangerous, and so that's another way of protecting it. Another way, and I've already mentioned this, is staying together. Different animal groups are called different things. A big group of rhinoceros is called, or rhinoceri, not sure, is called a crash. I think I know why, okay? Because the cool thing is they don't see very far, but they can run very fast. Problem. They're not seeing as fast as they're running. That's why they're called a crash. Okay. Then another thing is migration. And we talked about this when we watched the video the other day. Remember the salmon and the bears? The salmon migrated. They had to go back to where they hatched so that they could spawn, so that they could lay their eggs. And that was part of their survival. And even the video, remember? He said, we don't know why. Why? Because that was how God created them. And then the last thing, the next bold word that they're going to talk about is hibernation. We talked about that in the same video. We've got salmon migrating, but what did the bears do? The bears hibernated. They didn't go away a long way away. They went in and slept during the winter. That's why they needed all those salmon, right? The plants weren't enough. They can eat plants and berries too, but it's not going to give them enough fat to make it all the way through the winter. And God gave these animals what they need and gave them the ability to know how they needed to survive. So at the end of this lesson, I want you to read the whole section. Okay, then I want you to do the 3 questions in the quick check exactly the way I taught you to do it. Remember, label the quick check at the top of the page with the page number, write the question down, and write the answer in a complete sentence. Please don't forget how to make a complete sentence while you're gone. Okay? All right, so in a complete sentence, answer the question well. And then I want you to also you have some activity manuals that go along with this page. This is page 125. See that? Meeting needs. This should not take you long, especially as you're reading through it and you answer the questions. And then on the back, these 2 pages go together. You have the picture here and then the questions here. And this is a really, really good exercise for you. You're to look at the map and based on the map, answer the questions that it asks you. And it's about a hummingbird. And it's about the ruby-throated and the rufous hummingbirds. And it asks you about them migrating and their breeding and their wintering areas. And so you have to have an ability to read the map, look at the key, and then answer the questions. Do not go on to the other side where it says study guide. Don't go there yet. Okay, just do these pages. And really it's 2. It's just 2 working pages. So the meeting needs, I want you to do, which is page 125, and then you're going to use 126 map to help you with the 127 questions. Okay, now as a comment to this video, underneath the video, I want you to comment, and I want you to put in your comment another animal that comes to mind, one not mentioned in our book, okay, and one that I did not mention in this video. Another animal or plant that comes to mind and an adaptation that it has. Okay? Look at the comments that other people are putting on too. Try not to repeat. Don't repeat. If someone puts one thing, don't put the same thing after them. I want lots of different comments, and I'm going to be looking to see what you come up with. Okay? Have a good day.